Alright everyone, I just wanted to walk through 10.5 pretty simply with you, talk about a few terms just so you understand what's going on. So basically there's three types of muscle fibers in muscle tissue. And most muscle tissue will have all three types, but they'll have them in varying proportions. The first are the slow oxidative fibers, which contract slowly, like the name says, and use aerobic respiration, meaning that they use oxygen and glucose to produce ATP. Um, then we have, in sort of this a similar vein, we have fast oxidative fibers that have fast contractions, and they primarily use aerobic respiration, once again, oxygen and glucose to produce their ATP, but they are also able to switch to anaerobic respiration, which is just glycolysis, that it produces small amounts of ATP, but not using oxygen. We call this anaerobic respiration. They fatigue more quickly than the slow oxidative fibers, but not as quickly as the last fiber, the fast glycolytic fibers. They have fast contractions, but they only use anaerobic glycolysis. And when you do anaerobic glycolysis, you tire out much quicker. The fast glycolytic fibers, like it says, fatigue more quicker. And like I just said, most skeletal muscles will have all three types, but differing in varying proportions depending on what they have to do. The speed of the contraction is dependent on how quickly the ATPase can hydrolyze ATP and break down that high energy bond in ATP to produce the contraction and that cross bridge action. So the faster that the ATPase works, the faster those fibers can contract. So let's keep moving on. The oxidative fibers are going to contain much more mitochondria than the glycolytic fibers, and that makes sense because that's where aerobic respiration occurs, in the mitochondria. Um, the slow oxidative fibers will possess a large number of mitochondria, and they're capable of contracting for longer periods because they produce so much ATP. But they have a relatively smaller diameter and they don't produce a large amount of tension. So what that means is they're going to do things that aren't going to be explosive movements like those are what the other fibers will do. They will do things like maintaining posture, producing those isometric contractions where you're producing some tension but you're not moving weight, stabilizing your bones and joints, or making small movements that happen often but don't require large amounts of energy. They don't produce high tension, and they're not used, like I said, for those powerful fast movements that we're about to talk about. Those fast oxidative fibers are sometimes called intermediate fibers, and it kind of makes sense because they're fast, not slow. They're oxidative, but they can also go into anaerobic respiration. So they produce a lot of ATP because they can do that aerobic respiration. They have a large amount of mitochondria to do so, and they don't fatigue quickly because of it. However, they don't possess this myoglobin, which gives them a lighter color than the red slow oxidative fibers, and what you'll find is that the fast glycolytic fibers are white. And so the slow oxidative fibers will be like a dark red. These will be a little bit more light pink, and the fast glycolytic fibers will be white. These fast oxidative fibers are going to be used primarily for movements that you can do that require a lot of energy, but you can do for a significant amount of time, like walking. They're not going to be explosive movements like sprinting. Those are what we're going to use these fibers for. But they are still using a lot of energy. It does take a lot of energy to walk around, but you can walk around for a good amount of time without getting tired, much more than you can with doing something that's explosive, where you will use your fast glycolytic fibers. Fast glycolytic fibers, like I said, use anaerobic glycolysis as their ATP source. And so you can make a small amount of ATP, but you're going to run out much, much quicker. They have large amounts of glycogen, which is good because that's used in glycolysis to generate ATP quickly. And it produces high levels of tension. So basically what that means is that they're used to do forceful contractions and make quick, powerful movements like sprinting or jumping. And remember, those are things that you can probably do for very small amounts of time before being completely exhausted. So that's because they fatigue quickly, and like I said, you can only use them for short periods. So most muscles are going to possess a mixture of each fiber type, Depending on what muscles they are, they'll have different varying amounts of each. Um, I think that's where I'm going to stop that here. Let me know if you got any questions, and we'll be back with 10.6 in the next one.